Okay, the Americans need a turn, guys. We've been talking too much about Canadian politics, technology, real estate, all crashing, burning. We got to pay attention to what's going on with the Americans too, because they're right next door. Millions of full-time workers are struggling to afford a place to live, guys. In the United States of America, home of the free of the brave. Whew. I mean, in Canada, our real estate and cost of living's real estate's collapsed, and cost of living is going through the roof. In the States, they got 10x more people than us, so millions of full time workers struggling to find a place to live is not unreasonable to think about. But man, it's getting really dicey out here, guys. And as an AI agency owner, if you don't recognize me, my name's Alex. I run an AI agency in Toronto. I've been in places or been in situations before where it was a struggle to live, pay bills, eat, all that stuff, and you really have to make a lot of sacrifices to get out of it. But it even seems like the people who are making sacrifices and working really hard today, can't get out of it. So we're sort of in a trap here of productivity, income, value. It's like it's hard for people to get out of it. And I gotta say, like if you're trying to figure out where you're going to be landing in the next little bit, or you're not certain of your income, your job, start learning some technology. Technology is, I believe, the pathway to human evolution, doing things stronger, faster, better. Man, seeing this stuff really tugs on the heartstrings, but let's get into it, guys.
Rising cost of living has left millions of people working at full time jobs or a number of part time jobs still unable to afford a place to live. Ali Rogan is back with her conversation with journalist Brian Goldstone, author of There Is No Place for Us, about this growing nationwide crisis.
Thank you so much for joining us. In your work, you've come to know many people who work, who may have more than one job, but have come into circumstances where they cannot afford to keep a roof over their heads. Certainly, each person has a unique story, but are there any common threads in their experiences that you've been able to identify?
Yeah, absolutely. I do argue in my book that in cities across America today, in one city after another, a low wage job really is homelessness waiting to happen. And what they have in common is they all belong to the low wage workforce. And it's not just that their wages are too low to keep up with the skyrocketing cost of having a place to live. It's also that the jobs themselves have become increasingly volatile and precarious, where they often don't know how many hours they're going to be getting from one week to the next. Their employers give them 29 hours a week because at 30 they would be eligible for basic benefits like health insurance or sick leave. And yeah, the cost of housing, rents are just very, very quickly outpacing what their incomes are. So that's kind of the backdrop that defines these people's existence.
So just to, sorry, miss your freeze frame. There's a little. There you go. So, damn, there's been a few rumblings about you know low wage workers, um, seemingly no longer being needed for a future economy. And to think about something like that, like we build AI agents, robots to do work for companies. So when we have a business come in here, they, hey Alex, we got this problem, we're trying to figure it out. How can we use technology to solve it? We solve it for them. But we're not thinking in our brains, oh great, this is going to replace workers, or oh great, this is going to reduce the wages of workers. We're just thinking, how can we make this business's operations stronger, more efficient? And so I feel good about that when I do that work. I feel good. I get to make money for that. I get to pay guys to do that. They get to pay their rent, mortgages, whatever. So that feels good for us. But it to get to this position, technologically inclined, understanding compliance landscape, stuff like that, it took a lot of work. It took years. I've been doing this for 15 years. In digital environments, you move very quickly, so you learn a lot very quickly. So if sometimes it feels like I've been doing this for 100 years. But the average person who has maybe mouths to feed, roof over their head, mortgage, rent, and they can't dedicate time to step away from their work, to invest into a career or a path. And it's not like I had it easy. Like I've been borderline homeless a couple times just because I was giving it my all to this business, to my future. But I didn't have any sort of dependence or anything like that. Like it was just like, Alex, can you afford a couple cup noodles a day or a carton of eggs for the week or whatever? You know, you go through tough times. But now it looks on the surface, it looks like, you know, even having a part-time job, multiple part-time jobs, low-wage jobs, like you can't even make it with that stuff, guys. The environment for cost of living has become so much so that even if you have a job, you're unable to afford basic living standards, or what would we consider basic living standards in the West. I believe we are regressing as a continent into something that more reflective of a third world, because you have too many people in one place and there's not enough resources for everyone, or at least the resources are being held in the hands of the few. And the opportunities to get resources are dwindling. Like jobs are becoming something of the past. And employers are doing everything they can to try and get people off the books, so to speak. You're seeing layoffs across the board. Amazon's automating everything. There's going to be robotics in warehouses, no need for people to work. What are these people going to do? It's a great question. And that's why I always turn around and say, hey, if you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know what you're going to do or how secure your job is, get into digital, get into tech. I love seeing content creators make it, you know, pay their rent from YouTube videos. I love seeing affiliate marketers make it. You know, they have their little email list or their social media following. They're making money off of it. You got to do stuff like this, guys, because the future does not show promise towards humans. It doesn't. And we're seeing that. We're seeing it in the flesh right now. Millions of people are just being left homeless, even though they work. So we got to start thinking, how can we adapt? How can we evolve for a future where the jobs, the lifestyles that we know are going by the wayside?
For a long time, the stereotypical perception of homelessness is that it is something that happens to people on the fringes of society, and that may have never been accurate. But what have you found out in your reporting about the reality of what it's like to be without a home?
Yeah, I mean, one really astonishing truth about homelessness in America is that what we see on the street is really the tip of the iceberg. There's this entire world of homelessness that is out of sight, that has been rendered invisible. And within that shadow realm of homelessness, as I refer to it, it is overwhelmingly populated with people, again, who are part of the low wage workforce, who families with children. And these are people who are working and working and working some more, and it simply is not enough to secure one of life's most basic necessities, a roof overhead. I mean, to be sure, in the richest nation on the planet, nobody should be without housing. But these pernicious myths and stereotypes that homelessness is just caused by addiction or it's just caused by mental illness, it really is not borne out by the reality on the ground. And indeed, often mental illness and addiction is a consequence of this form of insecurity, not its cause.
I remember when I was on the brink of having nowhere to go. It's a scary thought, guys. You're going to do some crazy shit to make sure that you have at least somewhere to go. So I can understand why if you didn't make it, you know, got to that point where you have nowhere to go and then you literally didn't. Like I always got to the edge, never got, you know, over the top or off the edge. You know, I always got just to the edge and I figured my way out to get back. And then one day, you know, I said to myself, you're never fucking going back to that place. You're scraping your teeth against the concrete to get to where you need to go. And then lo and behold, you get there and everyone wants to come with you. It's really fascinating watching, you know, everyone go from, oh, this guy's a bum, borderline homeless, to holy shit, this guy has a business. He's making money now. Oh my God. But I'm not the typical scenario. I would say I would be an outlier in this case. But I could understand how the mental seams would start to fray if you did go over the edge and you had nowhere to go, because you start to think of very survival driven thoughts when you get to that point. And I could see why people would, want to escape those thoughts with drugs, or just literally just go crazy because of their circumstances. So I do feel for some homeless people. Some of them there are because they fucked up, but a lot of people are there because they've been compromised and they got the short end of the stick. But it's not. I'm looking at this. I'm like, oh, it's going to get better. It's not going to get better, guys. It's going to get worse. We're going to have more of this type of stuff. We're starting to see it in Canada, downtown Toronto. People just have nowhere to go.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the lives of the homeless workers are day in and day out? And also, do those lives get harder during the holidays?
I think it's really easy for terms like the housing crisis or the homelessness crisis to become kind of abstract and to lose touch with just the acute human toll of this growing catastrophe in America. What homelessness looks like today isn't just the person sleeping outside the parking lot of a convenience store or a Walmart or a Target. It's often the very cashier or worker stocking the shelves in those stores.
God.
And they often have
Crazy.
children at the end of their shifts. They don't know where they're going to be going. They have to tell their children, I don't know where we're staying tonight. Maybe they're sleeping in a car in that very parking lot. And, there's a term that public health experts use to refer to the kind of stress that children and parents are exposed to in these circumstances. And that term is toxic stress. This is stress that is so chronic, so debilitating, that it can fundamentally alter a child's long-term development. That is the human toll of this insecurity. And it is the consequence. It's the toll of what has happened when millions, not hundreds of thousands, but millions of families in this country have been flung into what a case manager in my book refers to as the housing Hunger Games.
You've cited a number of deficiencies across all sorts of categories that are failing people. But what institutions here need to change? Is this a failure of government, of industry, all of the above? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think it is all of the above. What I found in my reporting in the course of kind of immersing myself in the day-to-day lives of 5 families here in Atlanta where I live over a period of nearly 6 years, it's not just the housing system, which, prioritizes profits above all else. It's not just work and jobs and wages that aren't keeping up with the cost of living. It's also other systems like healthcare, a lack of affordable childcare, the education system, food insecurity. All of these systems sort of collide to make this human disaster not just possible, but in many ways predictable and inevitable.
Brian Goldstone, author of There Is No Place for Us. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The average hourly wage necessary to afford a 1-bedroom apartment in the United States is $28.17. The federal minimum wage is currently $7.25, just over a quarter of that. So, Americans, damn, you guys are having it rough when it comes to just wages and being able to afford to live based on those numbers I'm seeing. Oh shit. We have a higher federal minimum wage here in Canada, but given the cost of living, we're not that far off from what you guys are experiencing, and we are starting to see people go homeless. Tent communities in Canada are a thing. Now, at the same time, these are full-time workers in the States that are going homeless. That is amazingly bad. When you have an economy where you have people who are working full-time and they can't afford to live, you're looking at the end. It's the end of that marketplace. It's the end of that industry, because those people who are working those low-wage jobs at the bottom, You need them to sort of prop up the foundation of everything else. And if they can't afford to live and they have to quit, or they end up being compromised because they can't get to work or for whatever reason, the whole thing comes down, guys. What else we got? The only yeah, they're just saying federal. Okay, so I'm gonna say right now that they're probably living in a precursor of what we are in terms of the homelessness. I think they're a precursor of what we're going to experience here in Canada, just because I just did another video on real estate this morning. Back into the real estate stuff, guys, because it's important to know. If you have a population that has no pathway to victory for a home or a place to live, place to start a family, it drags on sentiment, consumer sentiment. We need people to work, live in places, buy stuff for this machine to be oiled. And if we lose the bottom rungs of it, the whole thing comes down. And it's funny because I'm saying that, I'm like, I know that's not true. That's what would have been the case up until 2023. You don't have bottom rung workers keeping the foundations together, the whole thing comes down. In 2023, something called AI became available. Now in 2025, AI is ripping through our society. If we start to see a world where the bottom rungs in the foundation are being propped up by hyper intelligent robots that don't sleep, people working these low wage jobs are going to have to seriously ask themselves, what is my purpose here on this planet? What should I be here doing that's meaningful, that's productive, and that generates an income that can allow me and the people I love to survive? So I implore you, if you have any time between the 2 or 3 jobs you got, or you got one job and you got a bit of time after work, get into technology. The future landscape is technological. It's the bottom line. You have to sort of get into the trades that are following the trends of society, or you're going to get left behind. Now, if you're so hard up in a point you can't even you're gone past it, you're in the income trap where you're literally paying money just to survive, consider teaming up with other people, living together, cooking together, saving, building communes where you can share in resources and everyone sort of can build up with each other. You always get a bigger bang for your buck when you pool resources. At least that's what I've learned. And I'm really praying for Americans. You guys are going through a very rough time on a scale that we won't understand here in Canada. But I do want to extend my heartstrings out to you, because damn, I know what it feels like when you got nowhere to go, and no one's no one's has a paycheck for you. So it is difficult, but keep your head on straight. That's the one thing. Stay away from drugs. Stay away from things that would slow you down and make you unhealthy. Cigarettes, all that stuff's got to go. You got to purge the body to purge the mind. Anyways, if you guys like this type of content, this one's hurting me. This is dragging my heart down. If you like this type of content, you like the conversation we're following here on the channel, hit like and subscribe. If you don't like it, you think I'm an asshole because I work with robots, or maybe you don't like this guy. I think this guy's doing a good job, or at least he's doing what he can for society. Hit dislike, leave some colorful comments. We're going to be doing a roundup of all the comments at the end of the year, seeing what you guys think about the conversation that's happening globally right now. But I got to say, we're only seeing the beginning. This is the tip of the iceberg of what's coming, guys. And what follows, a lot of people are not going to be prepared for. Get prepared. It's the only thing I can tell you. Looking forward to the next one. Bye now.